Hello and welcome to another thrilling episode of the Andrew Eborn Show, where we're looking at the ultimate guide to broadcasting, remote broadcasting, and all you people out there who all become broadcasters during these extraordinary times. And my special guest, yet again, is David. How are you, David?
I'm very well, Andrew. Yeah, how are you?
Very good, since the last 30 seconds when we did the...
I was thinking maybe I should change my jumper.
We should have done. I was going to change that. I could have moved the chess pieces. I was often thinking of that. It's always a joy. What I love, I'll tell you what, briefly, I used to do lots of warm-up for TV shows. We discussed in the last episode about people doing everything in television now. You have to know, not just in front of the camera, but behind the camera, be a techie, be a director, be a format deviser. One of the shows I used to work on was Beatles About, with the fabulous Jeremy Beadle.
Yeah.
Every time on the set, there would always be somebody who's normally a continuity person to make sure that they're always wearing the watch or wearing the things. There was always somebody on Jeremy's set, if you look back at the old shows, who deliberately would mess up continuity. It was supposed to be part of the show. So the water would subtly change colour, or it might be a different flower in a different place. And it's glorious. So look back at those episodes.
Brilliant. Like a little Easter egg.
No, it was. It's a little thing, a little thrill each time. So it was always a joy. And Jeremy was a wonderful time, and a great magician as well. Yeah, he was a great magician. So I know that's how you and I originally met, was through the magic circle. But he loved his magic.
I didn't know that.
Now you see, this show is nothing if not full of surprises. I'm here to learn. And talking of learning, I mean, these extraordinary times have opened up extraordinary opportunities for people, and everybody has effectively become a broadcaster.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
It is. Well, some of it's amazing, and some of it, quite frankly, are other adjectives. Some of it's quite shocking. And I think when you turn around, and what people could benefit from is getting industry experts. And I thought we'd do this in little sections, is maybe a lot of people are using online platforms such as Zoom and others, and they're doing direct things with YouTube and so on and so forth. I thought, rather, we're going to do this in stage. We're going to do, for the general people starting in broadcasting, want to get their message out in a simplistic term, who better than somebody who started at Oxford, went on to Just So Productions, worked with Thames, worked with One Direction, worked with X Factor and The Apprentice. Who better than you to guide us through it? So talk us through what the options are and why they're good and what people should do. Your top tips. Go for it, David.
Right. This is for Zoom. Is it?
Great. We'll start with Zoom because we're talking on Zoom, and how we do it.
I mean, it's going to be a bit hypocritical because I'm going to say a load of stuff that I'm actually not doing at the moment. So
the best way of learning is to break all the rules. We've learned that from the government. So it's no good. It's do what I say, not what I do. So I like that as a principle. But let's start with Zoom. Most people know you can do this. It is cheap. It's free. The first versions, like a lot of these things. But maybe from the very beginning, people watching this on YouTube or whatever, or Daily Motion, where you can see the Oxford TV various shows. Starting from the very beginning, what do you have to do?
Okay, well, I think the basics of any filming are the composition, the picture quality, and the sound. So, starting with the composition, typically you want to get your camera lined up at eye level. So I've actually got my laptop on a shoebox at the moment, just to get it a little bit higher. I don't know what your setup is, Andrew, but I'm sure it's not just on your desk. It's. Do
you reckon? Are we about eye level? Am I doing it? I should make it. I can be down there or up there or whatever. Yes, okay.
And so if you, depending on what you're sort of using Zoom for, you may or may not want to go to this kind of effort, but you can get little mini tripods for your phone, for example, which allows you very easily to get the height right. And then you want to, a general rule of sort of composition is, if you imagine the screen is divided into thirds. So if you imagine there's a line here, trying to judge where it is, in the bottom third, and then a third from the top as well. And you want the eyes to be lined up on one of the on the top third. So about a third of the way down, you want the eyes to be.
How are my eyes then? Are my eyes in a rough?
Good. That's perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Yes. Oh no, I should make the mistake. So, but if I was down here,
yeah. See, that looks weird, doesn't it? And similarly, if I go like that,
yeah, I suppose that's a bit. Yeah, okay. Now I got it. So about a third away here.
Yeah, so I think that's two simple tips that will sort of sort out your composition. Is make sure your camera is about at eye level, and then make your eyes about a third of the way down, and that should generally look quite good. Then lighting.
Lighting is very important, isn't it? Because a lot of times, and I've carried out interviews with some incredibly famous people, and some of these interviews, as you'll see, if you look over the 500 interviews plus at Octopus TV, octopustv.com, have a look, you will notice that some people, as the nights draw in, all you can see are just shining teeth because their lighting is not quite right. What's the best thing about lighting?
Well, natural light is great. So at the moment, we've got natural light. So I've got my window over there. If my window is behind, I'll just be a silhouette.
Yes.
So you want, ideally, natural light coming straight at you. If you wanted to make it really glossy, you would want to do a backlight, which I haven't done. But if you imagine I had a light sort of hidden off camera over there, shining at the back of my head, that would create a sort of halo effect around my hair, which is what gives the sort of gloss you see on high-end TV shows. It's called a backlight. But the key is you want to make sure your colours match. So with any lighting, there's basically two different colours. There's what's called daylight and tungsten. And tungsten is what you get from a typical warm-looking light bulb. And daylight is very blue. So tungsten is orange and daylight is blue. So when you buy your Christmas fairy lights and you get a choice between cool or warm, that's basically what they're saying. They're saying, do you want a daylight colour or do you want a tungsten colour? And what you don't want to do is light yourself with your main light with daylight and then have an orange or tungsten backlight, because what happens is your camera adjusts. It does a thing called white balancing. It will adjust to the blueness of the daylight. And in turn, that makes the orange look even more orange. And yeah, so if you don't color match your lights, it basically looks very, very strange.
So in terms of positioning, and the light should be at the back. Do you have anything coming forward at the front?
Yeah, so I've got a massive window in the front here. I mean, there's, if you were doing sort of professional film lighting, you'd use at least 3 lights. You'd have what's called the key, the fill, and the backlight. I think for Zoom, that's overkill. I think you just want a nice, what's called soft light, because it's very diffuse coming at you, and then a hard backlight from behind. And when I say from behind, the reason I'm saying put it off camera over there is because you want it out of shot. But if I was on a film set, I'd have a rig literally behind me, above and out of shot.
And so is it just the one rig? I mean, in terms of people with basic sort of stuff, you can get all sorts of little cameras, and we'll come on to those little lights that you can have. Which side do you have it if you're just having on one, or is it literally just behind you but out of shot?
Well, the problem with the backlight in this situation is you're trying to compete with daylight, which is incredibly strong. So in this kind of situation where you've got a window in front, you probably wouldn't bother with a backlight. But let's say that wasn't a window. Let's say it was night and I had a light facing me. You'd want that light that's facing you to be what's called a soft light. And the idea of that is it doesn't cast so many shadows, and it just lights your face evenly, and it doesn't sort of put shadows under your eyes or cast a sort of weird shadow across your nose. And a good way to achieve a soft light at home, because not many people have sort of professional soft lights, is to bounce a light off a surface. So if I have a harder light, like a bright lamp, I can bounce it off my ceiling or my wall, and that then becomes a softer light because it. What was it? Sorry, just knocking my laptop.
That's a demonstration of the bouncing. That's good. Okay.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so you bounce the light off a white surface, and it comes back soft.
Okay, very
Sorry,
good.
Did that answer your question? I can't remember.
No, it's very good. So I've got the eye level right. How's the lighting?
I think your lighting's good. I mean, you're lacking a backlight, which would give it that level of gloss. But what is your main light a daylight source?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So you'd struggle unless you had proper broadcast lighting to get a backlight that's strong enough to be seen.
Okay.
Um,
I
but what
also
you could
have
do is use a reflector.
a little light that they have, which we have a little one here, which I can adjust as appropriate. Here we go. And we can, it switches down. There's a number of brands over there that's switching up, and
Right.
that switches down. But as you say, if you button that's off, which is better,
Okay, no, that does make a difference.
off or on?
No, leave it on.
Leave it on.
Leave it
I've
on.
got to put it back on again now. So that is it, and it's I can show you what it is. Here we are. It's just one of these little things which we have, and it's a joby or a jobby. What do you call it?
I actually don't know.
Okay. So it's just one of these little things, and it's got, I won't shine it on, and it's very, very simple. We're not here to advertise products, but it's just a little light, which I just have at the side. Now, would that be better at the back, do you think? And so that's it on, it has different settings, which you can have like a little one. So that's it with it on, and obviously you can have different things if we were backlit.
No, I think that's good where you are, because without it, it is a bit dark. Because
Okay.
cameras need a certain amount of light to function properly. Which is why in the days when I would film things in a hurry,
Yes.
and I'd only have 10 minutes with talent, the best way to do it is just get them outside, because
Right.
then you've got all the light in the world, and daylight's just a lovely light to film in.
Yeah. Oh no, it is one, and I have a view, fantastic view, apart from looking at your living room or your newly.
I'm spoiling your view, Andrew.
No. This is great. I have a view of Regent's Park, so I have the natural
Nice.
Regent's Park, and I can sometimes in the background. We come on to sound. Sometimes hear Jesus Christ Superstar, and around this sort of time, because that's in the open air theatre at the moment. So all good stuff. So that's in terms of light. And would you have that lower? I mean, they have different settings on this one. So you can have it as a sort of lower one. That's sort of slightly lower, and that's lower still. Would it be lower or higher? What do you think?
I think put as much light on you as possible until it starts to look silly. But yeah, I'd go as bright as possible.
Okay, no, that makes sense. So we can do that. That's and that's it. How's that? There we go. Okay, so that's as much light as possible. But if I were to have a backlight, then where would you position it in this sort of setup? Because this is a typical setup, other than the fact that I deliberately didn't put it in front of the bookshop, which sometimes.
Sure.
Where would you put, in terms of this setup, where would you put the light?
So as far back as possible, but just out of shot.
Okay.
So just to the side of your lamp and your chessboard.
Okay, very good. So
All the same on the other side.
Beam in from that side. And in terms of a light, in terms of the best position to have this, I've got this over to my left at the moment. Is it better to have it above the camera and facing down, or both sides, or is it okay to have it to one side?
You want it quite high. You want it to sort of come in at a maybe 30-degree angle, and just to sort of hit the head.
Right. Okay.
There. The idea, you're trying to create a halo around the hair.
Oh, boy, do I need a halo occasionally.
Exactly.
A halo around there. Okay, so that's lighting and different light. They're fairly reasonable lights. I mean, you can, as you say, for people doing a home one, they're not that expensive. Are there particular ones that you would recommend?
I think if LED is obviously the way to go, and there's some great, fairly cheap LEDs, but you've just got to be a bit careful about greenish tinges. So just read the reviews. So a high-end broadcast LED light will cost you £2,000 perhaps, but you can get LED lights for £30, and some of them are great, and some of them basically make you look like a green monster. So
I am a green monster, so you should see me when I'm angry. It's always a thrill. Okay, so that's lighting. In terms of the camera, then picking up on that sort of side, what would you recommend?
Well, some of the inbuilt cameras these days are great. Phone cameras have progressed so fast. So again, this is hypocritical because I'm not doing it now, but if I was trying to do a really high quality stream or broadcast, whether it's via Zoom or via a live stream method, I would typically get a mini tripod, and you can get these great Velben make a lovely little mini tripod that just fits in your desk. and you can get very easy sort of spring-loaded phone mounts. Put your phone in there and stream or connect to Zoom via your phone, and then that way you can take advantage of the incredible cameras that are on your phones. And then the other thing you can do with phones, which is fairly good value compared to sort of the broadcast solution, is a company called Rode do a fantastic clip mic that's designed for phones. And so a Rode clip mic, I think it's called a Smart Lav, or Smart Lav Plus. Plug that into your phone, get your phone on a little tripod, and you'll look great.
Fantastic. And what are you using at the moment? You say you're not following your own rules. What are you using at the moment?
No, I've literally got a laptop on a shoebox.
Laptops on a shoebox.
Whatever works.
Okay, but again, it's. I mean, I'm similarly on a laptop. I've got a Razer, which we're using on this. And how does the quality look on this sort of product as opposed to a phone?
I think it looks good. It's very hard to tell without side by side. But I suspect if you shot the same thing on the latest iPhone and compared them, you'd see a big difference.
Yeah,
I think
that's the thing. I mean, nowadays phones, they have such powerful cameras, don't they?
Exactly. And so I would always recommend using your phone camera where you can. But I mean, it's less convenient, isn't it? It's easier to use Zoom on your laptop.
But and it's all there on that space. So Zoom itself, just run us through that. There's obviously a free version, which gives you a certain number of minutes and a certain, depending on how many people you have on, and also a more costly one. Talk to us about Zoom itself.
Yeah, so I think Zoom's fascinating just because they've just nailed the technology, and the fact that they haven't crumbled and sort of have their servers crashed during the pandemic, I think it's astonishing. So I think they deserve all the success that they're getting. The free version is fantastic. It's got the I think it's 40 minutes limit. The paid version removes that. 40
minutes. I mean, the interesting thing about Zoom, it's 40 minutes if you have more than one guest. If you have just one guest, and I've done this as well, if you have just one guest, you can go on forever.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I think, so in terms of, this is why it's interesting, in terms of having meetings and things like that, what happens is if you want to have more than one person, they give you 40 minutes and a warning will come up saying, do you want to upgrade, or advice, a sales pitch if you like, do you want to upgrade, or you have to upgrade to the professional version, otherwise we're going to cut you off, and they give you a little bit of a countdown. If you're just talking like we're talking, we can go on forever. And I've had some guests who go on for hours and hours and hours and hours, and you can do that with the free version. At the moment, things may well change once you've drip-fed people during this extraordinary period, but at the moment, that's what you get.
There's some other advantages of the paid for version, which and the one that I think is most interesting is the ability to live stream. So Zoom will take the mix, because effectively Zoom's doing a vision mix all the time. So if I start talking, Zoom will mix to me. When you talk, it will mix to you. And you can live stream that vision mix, and you can stream it to any platform. So I think it's a great way of doing sort of simple multi-person live streams.
So
that's the reason I pay for Zoom.
So the advantage then of the upgraded version is, in addition to having more than one guest for as long as you like, you can have as many guests. I think it's up to 100. Is it at the moment?
I've done Zoom calls with 1,000.
Oh, have you? Okay, so they do even more. Good heavens, that must.
Yeah, you can buy add-ons. I don't know what the actual limit is. It's either 1,000 or 2,000, I think.
Okay. And can they actively participate? Because managing 1,000 people.
That's a meeting, not a webinar. So they're all on the call. You can mute them, unmute them. There's do you know Stu Turner?
Yes, of course, yes.
So Stu Turner's doing speed quizzing in a big way. He's incredible at it, because it's technically very complicated. He's managing all that at the same time as being a great host.
Oh, brilliant.
And he regularly has a couple of hundred people on it, and yeah, he's unmuting the winners so you hear their celebrations. It's a bit of it's an art managing that number of people.
Yes, because again, it's going back to your point about wearing many hats, because you're there as producer, director, format person, and all that sort of stuff. And managing 200 people is interesting. So with the professional version, you can have however many it is, a few thousand. Now, and it keeps increasing. So that's the great thing about these platforms. As soon as we put out this information, it's going to be out of date. But the principle is check what the current limitations are is the key. You can then, as you say, do simultaneously live stream to different platforms.
Yeah, any platform.
Okay, so that's sort of, and in terms of cost, how much? You've got the free version, which is your 40 minutes if it's more than one person, or forever if it's not. In terms of cost for the live streaming, the thousands of people, and so on and so forth, how much are they charging?
You know what? I actually don't know.
I
don't know. It probably changes all the time. But...
How much is the price of a pint of milk?
I wouldn't know, Andrew. No, but people...
We know, pint bread. We'll get the butler to pick it up. It's got to be good. We love it. The prices again. Check the website, and it's very easy to download, isn't it? I mean, you just go to their website, and we'll put all the links up. I think it's zoom.com. You get the free download, and you upgrade.
Zoom.us.
Zoom.us. Okay, and we'll put all of those in. I think the Zoom.com actually redirects, but anyway, the Zoom.
What does it? I saw him shoot, right?
They're very good. So people always search for .com first, but in any event, check that out. Go directly for the one, zoom.us, and we'll put those links in there. And you can upgrade as appropriate. So who else is out there? Who else might be...
Sorry, who else?
Who else might they be able to use? Things like StreamYard, and you can use YouTube itself, obviously, for live streaming.
Yeah, absolutely. So Zoom is obviously primarily a conference call platform designed for multiple participants, but the streaming is just is a nice add-on. Now, in terms of streaming platforms, and that's so many of them, and they all have different sort of pros and cons. So I think there's probably 3 categories of, well, maybe 4 even categories of streaming platforms. And I shouldn't call them streaming platforms, really. You've got to separate the production platform from the streaming platform from the delivery platform. So there's 3 different sort of sections you've got to think about.
Okay, well, what I suggest, that will be a nice little thing, and we will look at those in detail in the next exciting episode. So for now, join us next time. David, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.